morning. I want to do a short follow-up of last night's few hours ago video on my way back home. So you see, it was voted in the UN, a proposal that would make Palestine to have a seat in the UN and representation. So empower the state of Palestine with rights, democratic rights at the UN, right? And the representative of Israel made this very sad scene, reminding me of a spoiled child who is not used to hear no for an answer, right? He shredded the miniature, he had this little shredder machine. So he got that machine just for that act, right? To shred a miniature copy of the UN Charter and accusing everyone that they were destroying the UN Charter by allowing Palestine to have a voice. I think this kind of mentality it's becoming more common. For what I read of the history of the prelude for the World War II, nowadays the more prominent politicians are starting to act more look like this time. Anyway, so this resolution was passed with a vast majority, one must say. It had, if I'm not mistaken, 25 abstentions and 9 votes against. Of course, one of the votes, the United States of America. What a surprise. The upholders of freedom, the defenders of democracy. It's a little bit too much. They give a whole meaning. They should invent another word in the dictionary and then translate it to all the language for hypocrisy. One that hypocrisy is not enough, because this surpasses all the barriers, right? You should get another word that symbolizes this kind of super enhanced, augmented hypocrisy. So, while this goes on, Israel keeps murdering. So it's like this guy, this ambassador to the UN, was saying that they shouldn't have any rights. We should kill them the way we want, treat them the way we want, and they shouldn't have a voice. What does this say in the 21st century? How can you defend Israel, for example, and then demonize Russia, for example, on the other hand? What kind of brain disconnection you have to do this? It's still very strange that this goes on like that, and the only indignation that we see really outspoken, trying to do something about it, are the protesters all over the world. We've seen the violence against the protesters in the universities of the US, and now I even seen it in protests in Portugal. Of course, a much smaller scale, but it was enough for the police to intervene with violence. So the states are protecting Israel against the will of the people, and we are the so-called democracies. Bear this in mind. The other subject I wanted to talk about is a follow-up on the words of some MP, Portuguese MP of this Liberal Party, that was worried about the developing of relations between Russia and Portuguese former colonies. with this colony mentality, the liberals, right? Invoking this Portuguese ex-colonies. And today it was another article about it, news article, saying that the target might be Portugal. They are developing relations with Guinea and São Tomé and Príncipe. The president of Guinea was even attending the Victory Day parade, the 9th of May in Moscow. But beware that the target might be Portugal. And I asked myself, how? What kind of way? And then they go on comparing Portugal to France and the latest episodes in the French ex-colonies. You see, the way that the French were kicked out was a surprise for them, and this has no comparison. And first of all, the French were exploiting. They had no colonies anymore, like the Portuguese don't. But they were still acting like they were the colonizers, together with the Americans. Military bases and all that. And they were there just exploiting the resources. And then, along the way, comes this country named Russia and say, hey, do you want a better deal on this? Or are you happy with your life? And of course the guys, Russia has a different diplomacy approach. It doesn't go there pretending that it's gonna aid them against this Islamic terrorists. It's not just going to pretend. It actually puts, in this case, Wagner Group mercenaries there, and actually helps. And so these guys think maybe we should go and extend our relations with Russia, that they are in fact beneficial to us. So that's what happens. A country is independent and it chooses to go its own way. And the former colonists are offended because of that. So in fact they are still treating it as a colony. But in the case of Portugal, this doesn't go on in the same scale. Portuguese simply abandoned these territories. And when I say abandon, it's like even the cooperation is lacking. There are some cooperation, which I don't think it would be in peril because of extended relations with Russia. I don't understand this. Unless the Portuguese were extracting all the raw materials from Guinea and São Tomé and Príncipe, and then the Russians would go there and convince the others to kick them out. If the Portuguese was ruling their currency, for example, like the French were. But none of that was, it's not this kind of control that the French really had over their ex-colonies. It's not comparable. So when we are in the presence, this means that we are in the presence, when we read articles like this, of pure Russophobia propaganda. And that's it. Because it's absurd, and it's dangerous. It's dangerous when this kind of news start coming out. When you start to put this speech in this discussion, in spreading this discussion to the public, this is sowing the seeds for more violence, more racism, more segregation, war, and it's kind of moronic way of thinking. It's not very intelligent. It's stupidity displayed, right? I don't know if I was clear. I'm very tired and I have to go to sleep. I see you on the next one.